Hi, I'm Peter Tragos, host of the Lawyer You Know podcast and YouTube channel. The saying goes, everyone hates lawyers until you need one. Well, I'm here when you need one to answer your questions and give you insight that you didn't know you needed. Along with my partners, Pete Sardis, the professor, who has a finance and business background, and George Tragos, my dad, and the consigliere, a criminal defense giant, we can answer any questions you have. What's up, everybody, and happy Tuesday. It is not Monday, even though it definitely feels like a Monday morning here. When I'm recording this, you'll be watching it whenever you have a couple hours to hang out with us and listen to yet another part of Amber Heard's 2016 deposition with Brian and Jax. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to break it down. We're going to give you some legal analysis. Why are the lawyers doing what they're doing? What would a judge say? How can this be used? We will answer all those questions and more as we listen to part 7 of Amber Heard's deposition. And a lot of you have been asking, when are we going to get together with Brian and Jax? It is going to happen. We have talked with them. We've got to get our schedules together. Most of it's my fault when they do it on Friday evenings. I have been unavailable the last few times, but it is not ending with Amber Heard. They have more in the tank that they are going to be covering and breaking down. So we will get together at some point, either watching a deposition together or maybe giving our insights as a collaborative effort, the three of us just kind of discussing what happened in Amber Heard's deposition overall. So if you haven't, take a second, hit that like button and subscribe to our page if you haven't already, because we're bringing you all sorts of content that you all ask for. You send me these every time they come out on my Instagram DMs and my Twitter DMs at Tragos Law if you want to hit me up on there. But subscribe to our page. We're going to continue growing, keep working towards 150K, crawling at this pace, but we'll get there eventually, hopefully, together as a community. But for now, let's get to part 7 of Amber Heard's 2016 deposition in the family law case, the divorce case, as many call it, with Johnny Depp.
This marks the beginning of media number 4 in the video deposition of Amber Depp. The time is approximately 5:30 p.m. and we're back on the record.
Ms. Heard, you were discussing your claims that Johnny Depp threw a phone on May 21, 2016, and thereafter grabbed your hair.
Yes.
I just wanted to reorient you to where we left off.
Thank you.
Prior to you saying Mr. Depp doing that on May 21, 2016, had you ever discussed with Io Tillett Wright anything or made any claim to her that you'd been abused by Johnny Depp?
I talked to her about a little bit of the violence. Yeah.
You'd specifically told her about violence.
Yeah.
And your other friend, Elizabeth Mars, had you ever discussed with her prior to May 21 that there had been violence between you and Johnny?
I don't think so. I don't remember ever speaking to her about that.
Okay. And how about any other person? Did you tell any other person other than your mother prior to May 21 that Johnny had been violent with you?
Yes.
Who?
Well, Raquel Pennington's fiance.
So right off the bat, a lot of you that are very astute and have been paying attention throughout the trial and the cases and anything that you watch and pay attention to, you know all this is hearsay. But as we've talked about before, in depositions, you want all sorts of hearsay statements because you can then go depose the people she said she spoke to, see if you can use it as impeachment, which is an exception to hearsay. You want to hear her say she told all these people, and if it's not true, obviously that can be a main point in the case. You want to know what she's going to say to see if you can either corroborate it or disprove it by talking to these other witnesses. So hearsay is a ton of what comes out in depositions. Who'd you tell? Why'd you tell them? When'd you tell them? All sorts of statements like that that wouldn't be admissible at trial, but that are admissible here in the deposition. And they don't even draw an objection from Mr. Objection standing right next to Amber Heard.
Josh had been in the room when I would either come over or when either I would go over to theirs or they would come over to mine immediately.
So you told Josh.
Immediately preceding an incident and I would still be bloody or bruised or they would overhear or they would, you know.
Did you tell Josh that that Johnny had been physically violent with
I think
you?
Josh was in the room when Raquel and I would be talking about it, or Josh would walk in with Raquel immediately after an incident had occurred where it was clear.
Objection, move to strike. It's a yes or no question.
Oh,
Did you ever tell Josh Drew prior to May 21 that Johnny had been violent?
I didn't have to tell Josh.
I actually think Amber is answering this question appropriately. Did you ever tell him? I don't know if I said it to his face, but he was there while we were talking about it. It is a totally appropriate answer. That's why I just don't like, especially when the other lawyer is being a specific sort of way. If I'm the lawyer deposing the witness, I'll just let her talk because, again, she's only going to hurt herself. But they're not going to be able to cut off this deposition if she just blabbers and blabbers.
So,
The answer is no, correct? You had
Wait.
never told him prior to May 21.
Argumentative.
Correct.
Let her answer the question.
Is that
Listen to the question and answer that question.
I don't recall specific times of telling Josh specifically.
okay? Any other person that you specifically claimed Johnny had been violent with you prior to May 21?
Yes.
Who?
Melanie.
Melanie Iglesias? Okay. Who else?
But I didn't have to tell her much. Melanie walked in once.
Did you tell her anything?
I don't remember what I told Melanie, but Melanie helped clean up blood and hair.
When was that?
December.
December
Melanie cleaned, actually covered my bruises for an appearance I had following an incident where I had 2 black eyes and a bust.
We heard from Melanie. So again, she said she would corroborate this. She kind of did. So this is something where you get the hearsay, then you talk to Melanie and you can kind of corroborate it. Parts of it.
Nose and a busted lip, and she covered the busted lip. My hairstylist had twice on 2 different occasions covered up bruises and or missing chunks.
Did
of
you
missing
tell
hair.
your hairstylist?
I did not.
Did you tell any other person your claim that Johnny had been violent prior to May 21?
Just think, take it slowly. She's asking for a narrative, so think about it.
No, I'm asking for a yes or no.
That's coaching. She's asking for a narrative. Now think about it, meaning explain anything you want to explain right now. You cannot do that. It is inappropriate. No real repercussions except for Blair to say, just please stop coaching the witness. Again, if you want to show it to a judge later, this would be a good indication. He is coaching her to give a narrative as an answer to this, as opposed to yes or no, which is not what you're supposed to do as a lawyer representing a witness who's being deposed. So that's problematic, and Blair is piping in here.
No answer, misheard. Prior to May 21, did you tell any other person besides your mom and besides, I think you said Raquel, did you tell Raquel prior to May 21 that you were claiming that Johnny had been violent with you? Any other person other than your mom, Raquel, and Melanie Iglesias? Did you tell Melanie Iglesias?
I don't recall having to tell her. I don't recall to what extent, but yes.
You did tell her.
Yeah, she saw. So I didn't really have to explain.
Okay. Whether or not she saw, did you ever tell her?
I confirmed.
Meaning you spoke words to her about Johnny having been violent with you?
I confirmed what she could deduce.
How did you confirm it?
By crying and not denying what she said she realized is going on.
So isn't it the truth you never used any words to describe any claim that Johnny had been violent with you with this woman?
That's wait, stop. That is misstating her testimony, Blair, and it's
No, it's not. It's exactly what you said. I didn't have to say anything. I was crying in the way that I looked. And then Blair said, so you didn't use any words. That's absolutely appropriate. Another improper objection by Mr. Objection.
argumentative and it's harassing. Ask your question
It's
and
not
give her
harassing.
some space to answer your question.
Ms. Hurd,
Harassing is, you lied about this, didn't you? He never touched you, did he? You lied to everyone. You lied to Iglesias. You lied to Drew. That's argumentative. That's harassing the witness. That's what it looks like, in case you're wondering, because in some of these cases, lawyers can argue that or object and say things like this, but that is not. She's asking her totally normal questions, calm. Now, is she picking some of her statements apart? Absolutely, but you're supposed to do that in a deposition. Totally proper.
You're asking her to go back in time and recall things, and she needs a moment to do that. And I know you want to rush through this, but she needs a moment to think about these things.
Did you use words to tell any other person that Johnny Depp had ever been violent with you prior to May 21, 2016?
Yes.
Who?
Among the other people I've listed, I confirmed it to my dad, who saw a picture of my face on my mom's cell phone.
When did he see that picture?
December.
December 2015?
Yes.
Okay. And you told him that Johnny had been violent with you?
It was the first time I ever admitted that to my father. And I used the words, Johnny beat the shit out of me. And I never.
So, and this is important because we've seen, they didn't come out of trial, but a lot of text messages between her parents and Johnny Depp, neither of whom were called at trial. So you would think if he could really confirm or corroborate any of this, he would have been called at trial, meaning her dad, but he wasn't. And it almost seems like, and again, I don't want to get into it too much because it didn't come in at trial, but it seems like there may have been some external evidence that her dad was on Johnny's side. I don't know if that's true or not, but it didn't come out at trial, but she's saying he's one of the people that she did talk to about this.
Or heard myself admit that to my dad before.
You told your father in December of 2015 that Johnny beat the shit out of you.
He called livid on the way he was getting in this truck to come to LA because he saw pictures on my mom's phone.
Did you tell your
It's a
father?
yes or no question. You answer yes or no.
Yes, I did.
You did. Okay. Did you tell any other person or claim to any other person that Johnny had been violent with you prior to May 21?
Yes.
Who?
Amanda de Cadenet, after she asked me.
When did she ask you?
She asked me on several occasions.
When was the last time prior to May that she asked you?
I can't remember a specific date that she asked me, but I certainly confirmed it at her birthday party when she caught me trying to put makeup over my bruises.
Ms. Heard, on May 21, as a result of you saying that Johnny threw a cell phone at you, did that cell phone make contact with you at any time?
Yes,
Where did it make contact with you specifically?
on my face.
Where on your face specifically?
What felt like my eye, around my eye.
Can you point to where it made contact as you sit here today?
It felt like right around the side of my. It felt like the side of my face and cheek. I felt like my side of my face and cheek. But in being pulled around by my hair, I somehow incurred some bruising on my body, and my
She's
head
focused on this part. That
Oh,
was the question. Listen
sorry.
to the question.
He's an equal opportunity.
Where did
Objectioner.
you incur contact with the phone you say Johnny threw at you?
Asked and answered.
Can you point to the place on your face where you were saying the phone hit you?
It felt like the side of my right side of my face, around my eye.
Okay. Do you not have a specific memory of where it hit you?
Objection. She just said it.
I'm pointing to a specific part of my face.
Okay. What part of the phone hit your face?
I don't know.
Okay.
I kind of
Seriously?
had a hard time viewing the phone as it was being hurled at me.
Okay.
So she smirks. Again, none of this stuff is really funny. And the lawyer says, seriously? It's like, yeah, I do think that's fine. Like, if she knows, she knows. I think if she knew, it would seem, even more plausible. If she didn't know, it doesn't mean that she's lying. I know what people are going to say in here, but I'm saying just generally, if a victim or an alleged victim of domestic violence wouldn't have known what part of the phone hit her, I think that's an okay answer. If she did know what part of the phone hit her, I think that is more corroboration. I don't think there's anything wrong with the question. Again, deposition questions can be broad, and you're trying to get just about any information that you can. Totally appropriate question. No need to scoff at the question as the lawyer representing the witness.
You point specifically on your face as to where the phone made contact with you.
Again,
Yes.
Asked and answered for the third or fourth time.
Make the record reflect that the witness has repeatedly, not touching her face,
I can
motioned
touch my-
around the right side of her face and her eye.
Is that not?
She's pointed
I'm not
to
actually touching
the
it.
side of her eye, the
I'm
right side of her
pointing
right
with five
eye.
fingers even.
Is the area that you are
So now they're talking over each other, which was miserable for the court reporter. I'm surprised we haven't heard a court reporter pipe in. Many times during our depositions or trials, the court reporter will say, slow down or stop talking over each other or whatever it may be, because it's literally impossible to get an accurate record when lawyers are doing what Amber Heard's lawyer is doing right there.
saying that you are circling the area you claimed that the phone hit.
I'm touching with 5 fingers. I'm pointing with 5 fingers the area that it felt like I was impacted.
And as a result of that impact, did you seek medical treatment?
After May 21st, no.
At any time after May 21st, did you seek consultation with any doctor or other medical professional?
No.
Isn't it true that you've never at any time sought medical treatment with a doctor after any of these times you claim Johnny was violent with you?
Objection, calls for a narrative, compound, vague and ambiguous. Go ahead.
Not true.
When have you sought medical treatment for the claims you're making related?
That's how you know he doesn't like that question or the content of what the likely answer is going to be. He listed about 10 objections there, and then she says not true. Okay, so let's hear about the medical treatment that she got, which was a big point of the trial in 2022.
To domestic violence with Johnny Depp,
If
ever. Yes.
If ever.
In December, I sought medical treatment.
Where did you seek
Twice,
medical treatment?
actually. Once on the
You're interrupting her, Blair.
in December, I think it was 16th, right after the incident. As it was likely, I had a concussion because I wasn't quite sure how the night ended. I'd been punched repeatedly in the back of the head, and I was bleeding from my lip. Felt like my nose was broken, and
Who did you see? What doctor did you see?
I'm trying to answer you as
Okay.
best I can. If you'd please allow me to.
Of course.
It's argumentative.
My friend Raquel got on the phone and asked a private nurse because it was late.
Who was the private?
Her treatment is Raquel got on the phone and asked a private nurse. That's not treatment. And I think she's talking about the nurse that worked for Johnny's doctor, or who she called Johnny's doctor, Dr. Skipper, I think, but we'll see if it's a different nurse.
Nurse.
Her name is Erin Borum.
Yes,
Did
I
she work
believe.
for Johnny Depp?
Yes. No, she does not work for Johnny Depp.
Did she work for you?
No. she
Had
does
you
not.
ever had
She-
any
she worked-
contact with her as a nurse prior to that occasion?
Yes.
Amber wants her lawyer to jump in and say, stop interrupting her, but he didn't catch that. But she's obviously annoyed.
When?
For the year or two prior.
Okay. So you'd had a 2-year relationship with this nurse.
She has had a relationship with both Johnny and I, and works for our doctor, Dr. Kipper.
And she specifically,
Kipper, sorry, I think I may have said Skipper. And it's our doctor now, not Johnny's doctor and Johnny's employee who does whatever Johnny wants, which is what she said in the trial. But right here, it's no, Borum doesn't work for Johnny, actually, is what she said, which to me, I would have impeached her with at trial. When she said everybody works for Johnny, I would have played this where she said, no, it's a private nurse, our Dr. Kipper. So that's interesting. I would have played this part of the Depo to impeach her, but maybe it's a little nitpicky. You guys let me know what you think in the comments.
treated you prior
Vague.
to this December incident in 2015 for the year before, you say?
What are you asking me exactly?
Had she had an interaction or relationship with you as a medical professional prior to December of 2015?
Asked
Yeah.
and answered.
Yes.
And isn't that true that she had that relationship because she was advising you and helping you with a drug issue?
No. that
She
is
never
not-
discussed a drug issue or
Wait.
helped you.
Vague and ambiguous as to the term drug issue.
Did she ever assist you or have a relationship with you regarding any drug-related matters connected with your personal health?
Vague regarding drug-related matters.
If you mean illegal drug, no.
They're literally substance abuse doctors and nurses. That's what they were there for, to try to help with. Yet she's saying, no, that's not what they were there for. So none of this really makes sense. And again, she's trying to build up the medical treatment when we know there are no real medical records where she went to like an urgent care, an ER, or an orthopedic surgeon to look at, broken bones or bruising or swelling, or the doctors you would actually go to for that stuff.
How about prescription drugs?
Yes, as she's a nurse who works for my doctor, and she was traveling as Johnny's backup 24-hour nurse for his sobriety issues and his detox post this opiate detox.
Exactly.
And so she was around
When you claim you sought medical treatment in December 2015,
twice.
did you go to a hospital?
The second time I sought medical advice, it was in my doctor's office because the headaches wouldn't go away, and I was worried I had some sort of low-grade concussion, if there is such a thing. And I'm not a medical professional.
Did you tell your doctor Johnny Depp had committed domestic?
Was in my doctor's office because the headaches wouldn't go away, and I was worried I had some sort of low-grade concussion, if there is such a thing. And I'm not a medical professional.
Did you tell your doctor that Johnny Depp had committed domestic violence against you?
Wait, that's a privilege with a doctor,
Oh, okay.
so don't answer.
Did you you said you sought treatment for the domestic violence from the doctor, correct?
Wait.
That was worded.
Okay.
I sought medical treatment because of the injuries inflicted on my head and the lasting pain I was having from them following Johnny punching me repeatedly in the back of the head, among other things. I went to a doctor's office and sought treatment based on those injuries.
And did you feel it was important to share what those injuries were?
At the time, I felt it more important to protect the privacy of myself and Johnny, and was worried about the repercussions that could befall him.
Okay. Did you ever at any time request medical records from this doctor for purposes of these proceedings?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did you provide those records here today?
I didn't bring anything with me today. I did not.
Did you provide them at any time prior to any other human being?
Other than, you can't answer as to counsel, and obviously,
That's not true, but
excuse me,
go ahead.
we brought it.
They're still arguing about whether or not that's a proper objection and instruction not to answer. I agree with Johnny Depp's lawyers that just because you brought a piece of paper to counsel, the fact that you brought it to them is not protected by privilege, especially if it's discoverable in a civil case. But he is allowed to instruct her not to answer at this deposition. And this is a question they have to ask the judge later. So arguing about it now really doesn't do anything. He can instruct his own witness not to answer something, which is what he's doing, which, even though we may disagree with the reason he's doing it, is an appropriate action in a deposition.
A stack of documents. We've asked about 7 times that she be allowed to take a look at them, and she's never been allowed to take a look at them.
And there's not a single medical record in there.
Okay,
Oh.
well then there's your
Then
answers to that
so.
question. So why are you asking?
Because
So he even confirmed there's no medical records in there. I love Wasser's just statements coming out. They sound like they're far away because she's not wearing one of the mics. I love it. Everything she said so far has been like just kind of a haymaker.
the witness just testified that she provided medical records.
I didn't hear her say that. You keep
Did you obtain medical records in
I
relation
obtained
to
them,
this
yes.
case? Okay. After you obtained them, what did you do with them?
don't divulge any communications with lawyers.
Okay.
What is the doctor you are referring to when you claim you went to a doctor for injuries suffered from violence by Johnny Depp?
It's been asked and answered.
What is the name of the doctor?
Asked and answered.
I'm sorry?
It wasn't answered.
Yeah.
It was. She said it.
Really?
Yeah, you want to
Could you-
listen?
Well, I said Erin was, but that was, she was the one who did the initial midnight concussion check.
Erin's not a doctor, correct?
No, she's a nurse. She's a
Stop
medical
being
professional.
argument.
Okay, wait a minute.
Exactly.
Okay, it is almost 6 o'clock. I've asked all day that you speak
You
one
need
at
to
a
slow
time,
way
and I
down.
need you guys to
Slow
speak one at
way
a time.
down. She can go as fast as she wants.
Okay.
You shouldn't.
Okay. Sorry.
What is the name of the doctor?
Can I answer that?
Mhm.
Okay. Dr. Monroe.
What's his first name? Do you know?
I just know him as Dr. Monroe.
Does he practice in Los Angeles?
Yeah.
Where?
I don't know his exact address.
In Beverly Hills?
Yes.
And in terms of what you claim happened after the time you say Johnny Depp threw the phone to the time Johnny Depp left and you didn't see him anymore, your testimony is he hit you again
Vague.
after the phone hit you? Are you claiming that Johnny hit you?
Are you asking on another incident or specific?
No, May
to-
21.
As I said to you before, I was sitting on the couch with my legs crossed and my head was down in my hand. I was crying and screaming, "You hit me." So the impact of his hand, I don't know if it was to grab me by the hair to get me up off the couch or if it was just an impact into it in and of itself, but it impacted me nonetheless. Next thing I know, he has me by the hair and he is taunting me about not being able to see. Let me see your face. Let me see your eyes. Let me see. You really hurt this time.
Objection, move to strike, non-responsive. Did he hit you after the time you say he threw the phone
I
at your
just-
face?
I oppose that motion to strike.
I just answered you that I couldn't tell if it was a hit or not. My hands were in my hands.
Okay, so you don't know.
Crying, and the impact of him and an appendage of his.
I will say I oppose that motion to strike. You kind of get into the moment and you fall for stuff like that to where you start arguing about stuff that doesn't matter in a deposition. It's easy for me to sit here and play Monday morning quarterback and say, don't do that. But I do understand sometimes it's just as annoying and you feel like you have to argue with the lawyer on the other side, but you got to try not to.
Hit me with force.
Okay. You claim that after he hit you with the phone, he broke a magnum of wine on the floor of the apartment where you were?
I don't know if he smashed it on the floor or if he just threw it on the floor and it didn't smash.
There was
sorry, I don't
broken
remember.
glass on the floor?
Yes, he broke a lot of glass things that left glass on the floor.
And that was
Details are really important in depositions, especially if you feel like they're getting the details wrong.
where you were around the sofa and around the
That
stairs
was
in
on
the
his
living
way-
room?
On his way out, which is more in the kitchen.
Okay, in the kitchen.
Because
Was there any broken glass? I'm sorry.
Slower, please.
Sorry.
Are you claiming there was any broken glass anywhere else on the first floor of Penthouse 5 other than the kitchen?
I don't know. No, I don't remember.
Do you remember whether you're claiming that there was any wine on the floor of Penthouse 5 after you say he hit you with the phone?
Yes.
And the wine was spilled and visible?
Yes.
Okay. And were there any other broken objects scattered on the floor of Penthouse 5 after you say he hit you with the phone?
Yes.
What were they?
Some these huge, heavy silver candlesticks, candelabra sticks. Those were on the floor, broken. Baskets of fruit that we had on the kitchen island. There are fruit everywhere. Baskets on the ground. The containers holding the spoons and fork, kitchen utensils. Those were spilled. Things that were on a lamp. A little statue thing, among other things.
And your testimony is that after he had done these things, Raquel Pennington came into the apartment, correct?
Yes, but I do not recall if how much of what I just described has been broken. I don't know how much of that had been done before Raquel walked in because I know he did a lot of it on his way out.
Had any of it been done by the time that Jerry, his security person, and Sean, his security person, came into the apartment
Vague.
on May 21?
Like I said, I can't remember if or how much of it had been done by the time Raquel entered. And Raquel entered before Jerry.
At the point that Jerry Judge and Sean Bett were in the apartment, do you remember that?
Mhm.
And your claim in your declaration is that Johnny was still screaming, correct?
Yes.
And Johnny
Yes.
was throwing things, correct?
Are you on a line and page? Are you-
No, I'm just remembering what is said.
Okay, just
I want
focus.
to,
I am focused.
I just am interested in the truth. So if you could tell us,
I would love to.
when Jerry Judge and Sean Betts were in the condo, is it your testimony that Johnny was still screaming?
Yes.
Is it your testimony that Johnny broke things in the presence of Sean Betts and Jerry Judge?
I believe so.
And he broke wine bottles?
I don't know to what I don't know what things he broke in front of them or what happened next. I am on the couch crying, being covered by my best friend after having this happen to me. So I have limited ability to tell you what exactly was broken when Jerry or Sean's eyes are pointed in any specific direction.
And you're claiming that Sean Betts and Jerry Judge stood there and did nothing, though, while this was happening, correct?
They weren't there the whole time.
During the period they were there, your claim is that they did nothing, correct?
They walked in and most of it had been done. He had already charged at me, to which Raquel threw herself in between us, put her arms up to protect us. He'd already pushed Raquel's arms away, intimidated her. We're both back down on the couch. He's protecting me and he's screaming at me at the top of his lungs, which is what I can only guess served as the impetus to get Jerry Judge and Sean into the room. While he's screaming at me, and I'm looking down, and he's screaming at me, taking a step closer and screaming louder each time. Get the fuck up, Amber, get the fuck up. Get the fuck up. Amber, you hear me? Get the fuck up. And I can only imagine, because it was so loud towards the end, that they came in. So I can't tell you the exact moment. Was it at the third threat or the 10th threat when they walked in? But at some point they walked in, and he turned his head, and I hopped up off the couch, ran to the side corner of the room, and said,
Somebody want to grab that phone?
Jerry, help me. If he hits me one more time, I will call the police.
But you'd already asked to call 911 by that point, correct?
I didn't know if I was even on the phone when I was screaming.
Objection, non-responsive, move to strike. You had already asked to call 911 by the time you say Jerry Judge was there, correct?
That's incorrect, because that's to assume that I knew somebody. I had somebody to whom I could ask to call.
Did you ask to call 911 prior to when Jerry Judge
I
was in the
didn't know
apartment?
any.
Vague and ambiguous.
Prior to when Jerry Judge was in the apartment on May 21, 2016.
Vague and ambiguous.
What are you asking?
Asked and answered.
Had you asked to call 911 prior to this time you were describing when you say Sean Bett and Jerry Judge came in the room?
Vague and ambiguous.
No.
Asked and answered.
No.
I yelled, call 911. Asking implies there was someone to whom I could ask this question. And as I have stated before to you, I didn't know if anyone was on the line.
You never asked either of these security individuals to call 911. Isn't that true?
I don't think I asked them to call 911. I threatened to call 911 if Jerry stood by and let him hit me one more time.
You threatened that in front of Jerry Judge and Sean Bett to call 911.
No, I threatened to call the police if he hit me again, and if they let him hit me again.
In front of
My guess is neither of these bodyguards are going to corroborate, which is why she's trying to really lock in what Amber is testifying to.
Jerry Judge and Sean Bett.
To Jerry Judge.
And in front of Raquel.
I
And-
said, Jerry, if he hits me one more time, I said, Jerry, help me or whatever. If he hits me, or he's hit me, and if he hits me one more time, Jerry, I'm going to call 911 or I'm going to call the police because what else am I going to do?
And by that time, you were already injured, correct?
Yes,
Your face had been hit by the cell phone.
it had just been hit.
Okay. And there was a mark on your face?
How would I know?
Well, did you learn there was a mark on your face later that evening?
Marks develop.
Did you
So
see
did
a mark
these.
on your face later in the evening?
Yes.
When later?
I don't know when the exact time I looked in a mirror. It's the first time.
Okay. After Johnny had left or before?
Oh, Johnny left right not too long after that. In fact, they told him, we got to get out of here. He smashed some things on the way out. I know that for sure.
After or before is the question. Focus on the question.
Can you repeat the question?
When did you first know that there was a mark on your face that was visible, that you could see any indication that you had any injury or marks on your face on May 21?
Asked and answered.
Are you not willing to tell me?
You can answer, but you've
Oh.
already answered. I mean, you.
Oh, again,
Here's
I
the
don't
problem.
know.
You keep switching the question. So you ask one question, and
That's the point of a depo. You keep switching the question, so it's not asked and answered if she switched the question, right? Come on.
then you switch the question around and to something that she's already said. So go ahead, Amber. Say what the answer is.
I don't know exactly what time it was that I was able to look in the mirror and see the damage on my face, but I do know that it felt bad. It felt puffy and sore.
Puffy and sore before the police arrived, correct?
It hurt immediately.
And your claim is that there were marks on your face prior to the police arriving, correct?
I don't know if there were marks on my face or how puffy or how red it was. I don't know how it looked because I probably didn't spend any time looking in the mirror immediately after.
Is it your testimony that there was in penthouse 5 bottles broken, correct?
In Penthouse 5?
Yes,
Yeah, Penthouse 5 was destroyed.
destroyed. Glass on the floor,
Yes,
wine spilled,
yes. In the hallway as well.
clear signs that there was damage and
pictures of it.
vandalism in penthouse 5, downstairs.
There was clear damage done downstairs in Penthouse 5.
And you believed you had clearly been assaulted by Johnny Depp, correct?
Are you asking me if I believe I had been assaulted by Johnny?
Yes.
Yes.
You believed he intentionally threw a cell phone that had hit you in the face and committed domestic violence. Is that true?
I can't know what his intentions were.
Ooh.
Did you believe at that time, prior to the police arriving, that he intended that you be hit with that?
I would have taken that answer and moved on if I was Blair, because now you have her locked into that with no explanation that she didn't know what his intent was. It could have been an accident. And if it could have been an accident, then she's not the victim of domestic violence and she's not the victim of domestic abuse. I would have taken that answer and moved on.
Cell phone.
I believe that he threw the cell phone at me and directly, and he was very close to me and he had great aim.
He had great aim.
Isn't it true, Ms. Hurd, that the Los Angeles Police Department, Officers Sains and Haddon, arrived later that evening and spoke directly with you?
And they didn't see a puffy face or marks all over your face or anything that you're describing here as far as the state of Penthouse 5. And then this is kind of where it gets to the hoax and creating the problem with her friends and all this stuff. But we know at least the law enforcement officers went through the trial, at least in my opinion, they were a huge reason why I had trouble believing some of the stuff she said, is they were unbiased witness, not on Johnny's payroll, and they didn't corroborate any of it, basically.
I don't know if they're the first set of officers. I don't know the first set of officers' names.
There were 2 sets of officers that spoke directly with you, correct?
The second set were further away from me, and they didn't speak to me alone in any real way. By that time, another hour had passed, and things had calmed down and been cleaned up a bit, and so.
So you spoke
don't
with
remember.
2 separate sets of officers directly about what had happened, correct?
I spoke to one set of officers very directly, face to face. The second set of officers, I don't remember if I even got up off the couch and spent much time with them. I remember the interaction to be brief.
Isn't it true that when the first set of officers arrived, there was one bald officer and one female officer, correct?
I vaguely remember. I know that it was at least, one woman and one man.
And isn't it true that when those officers communicated with you, they asked you what happened?
Yes, it is true.
And at no time did you ever tell them anything related to your claims that you've made today
Vague-
about anything that had happened on May 21, 2016?
Vague and ambiguous.
What do you mean?
You never made any claim to the police on the evening of May 21, 2016, that Johnny Depp had been violent.
We know this answer is that's correct, but is she going to say I was trying to protect Johnny, which is basically what she said at trial? Let's see if she gives a consistent answer. I haven't seen it, so I don't know the answer.
With you in any way?
I can tell you what I said to them.
Tell me.
I said I declined to give a statement at this time, at the advice of my counsel.
Did you make any other statements to them?
They asked me if he was still here, and I said no. And then they insisted on. They said, "Is this where it happened?" And then I said, "Well, yes."
Where what happened?
They said, "Is this where it happened?"
What happened?
The incident for which they were responding.
Did you ever at any time describe any incident with your husband?
Again, all I said to them was, I declined to give a statement at this time, as per my advice of my counsel.
Isn't it true, Ms. Hurd, that the officers responding, the first set of officers, specifically asked you if the person that had been with you at the time, your husband, had assaulted or hit you in any way?
Are you asking me if they asked me specifically, had I been hit?
Yes.
I don't remember them asking me, have you been hit?
Did they ask you, had there been any contact between you and your husband that was physical?
I do not remember them asking me, but I do not think that they asked me that question.
Isn't it a fact that you were speaking and looking directly at the officers as they were talking to you on the evening of May 21, 2016?
I spoke to them very briefly, to which I did have eye contact with them face to face for a brief moment.
Isn't it a fact they were in your apartment with you for over a half hour?
No, they were not in the same apartment as I for over half an hour.
Isn't it a fact that they were given access to Penthouse 5, the first floor, to do an inspection?
Yes, they were given access. At their insistence, they said they must see everything to make sure that I am safe.
And did you allow them to do that?
Yes.
Isn't it a fact when they made that inspection of Penthouse
And were you safe? I think is a good follow-up question.
5, they did not see any broken glass on the floor?
I don't know what they saw or didn't see. I wasn't ushering them around. They did that by themselves with, I guess maybe Josh was showing them around. But there was extensive damage to which we have plenty of evidence.
Is testimony here today that the
Yes.
Isn't it a fact when they made that inspection of Penthouse 5, they did not see any broken glass on the floor?
I don't know what they saw or didn't see. I wasn't ushering them around. They did that by themselves with, I guess maybe Josh was showing them around. But there was extensive damage to which we have plenty of evidence.
Is it your testimony here today that the officers saw extensive damage?
I don't know what the officers saw.
Had any of the damage been cleaned up when the officers arrived by you?
By the time the second set of officers arrived, we had cleaned up the kitchen and cleaned up a bit and cleaned up.
By the time the first officers arrived, had you cleaned up any damage to Penthouse 5?
I don't think so.
Okay. Isn't it a fact that you went with the
That's a good fact. They didn't clean it up before the officers got there because that would obviously change what we're looking at here as far as damage.
officers to Penthouse 5, the first set of officers?
No.
Is it your testimony that you never went to Penthouse 5 with either of the officers of the first set of officers on May 21?
Exactly.
Isn't it a fact that the officers testified at proceedings in this case that they in fact went with you to Penthouse 5 and interviewed you in Penthouse 5?
Calls for speculation. You're asking what officers testified about?
How would I know what they said?
Did you ever call any police officers after May 21?
Have I seen any police officers?
Have you
after
ever
21?
contacted any police officers after May 21?
No.
And did you ever make any attempt to contact the officers who were there with you on May 21, 2016?
I got their business card.
Okay. And upon getting,
They left their business card.
and did you ever make any attempt thereafter, then leaving their business card, to contact those officers?
I did not.
Isn't it a fact you never at any time after those officers left on May 21 made any attempt to contact the police?
I did not personally.
Did you have anyone else contact the police?
We attempted to.
Who is we?
It's privileged.
Okay.
You've attempted,
It's privileged. You might as well say, I told my lawyer. So she attempted to call the police through her lawyer. Is that what she's saying? It's kind of confusing.
through counsel to contact the police?
If she did, it's privileged, so don't answer.
Did you ever tell any officers at your house on May 21, 2016 that Johnny Depp had done anything wrong to you?
Can you repeat that question?
Did you ever tell any officers at your house on May 21, 2016 that Johnny Depp had ever done anything wrong to you that night or before?
You're asking me if I've told them.
If you told
That
them on May
he-
21, yes.
Again, I said to them, I declined to give any statement at this time as per the advice of my counsel.
Did the
They
police,
did make a comment to me about it seeming unsafe. That's why they needed to check the apartment. They made a gesture to my face. They said I looked hurt. They also pulled me aside and said, look, just say a statement. We can make sure you're safe. Just say a statement or give us a statement and we'll go get the guy. And they said the exact.
Just give us a statement and we will get the guy. That's not exactly how things work. And that's not what they said. That's not what the officer said they said.
Same thing to Josh.
Details are great in a
Did-
depot, though.
is it your testimony that a police officer on May 21
Yes.
told you that it appeared you looked hurt?
He or she gestured, I can't remember which one, to my face and said, we can tell you've been hurt or you don't look good or something to that effect, but I don't remember the exact words they used.
But some
Really? Is that what happened? They gestured to your face and said, it's obvious what happened. Interesting.
We can tell you've been hurt or you don't look good or something to that effect, but I don't remember the exact words they used.
but something to that effect?
Yes.
Is it your testimony? Let me ask you, did the officers ever say they saw enough to arrest Johnny when they were with you on May 21, 2016?
Well, they said to both myself and Josh that all I needed to do was give a statement in order for them to go get the guy or go make an arrest. But maybe they use word the arrest to me, but
And your testimony is here today that one of the officers told you that.
yes.
And was it a male officer or a female
Like
officer?
I said, I really can't remember which one it was.
During
They
the
also-
time the police arrived, from the time the police arrived till they left, did you ever at any time call any other human being on a telephone
What?
while the police were at your property on Broadway? Did you ever call on the telephone any other human being while the police were there?
Not that I recall. I don't know.
You didn't recall? You don't recall calling anyone?
I said not that I recall.
Okay. Yes. Did I mishear you earlier? Did you not say that you called Samantha Spector while the police were there on May 21?
It was not while they were there. It was before they were there.
Before they were there and after you called 911,
I did not call 911.
after you asked to call 911,
I screamed, call 911.
your testimony is between that time and the time the police left, you called Samantha Spector, correct?
No.
Your testimony is that before the police got there, but after you screamed, call 911, you called Samantha Spector.
I called Samantha Spector after Johnny left, and I was being comforted by and protected in Rocky and Josh's apartment. I could hear Johnny still trying to get into the apartments, demanding to get into my apartments, kicking in the doors, throwing the wine bottles. There's still holes in the doors you can still see to this day from that. And even though it was scary, I wasn't sure if the cops were on the way.
Focus on the question.
And I wasn't sure if the cops were even on the way. And a few minutes later, Josh came in.
Do you remember the
said,
question?
Yes, I'm trying to answer. I am, because I want to be as accurate as possible. Josh came in and said the cops.
So now she's disregarding his coaching because he's trying to tell her to chill because she's not answering the question. She's saying too much, but she thinks she's got it figured out. So she knows what she's going to say. This happens all the time with witnesses, and it can be frustrating when they just say too much. She's done a good job taking the advice for counsel, even though I think he has gone a little too far. She, at least as the witness, is kind of listening to him and waiting for his cues at this point. Now he gives her a cue and she disregards it. So, and I think we all know how this testimony sounds in light of a lot of other evidence and testimony we've seen.
Here or downstairs or something. What should I do? What should I say to them? And I said, I don't know. I wanted to know how to handle it. I think I probably called counsel. I don't know when I called her.
Okay, but it was after you learned that the cops were there to find out what to do.
I don't know.
Okay. And after you learned that the cops were there and you called Samantha Spector, was Samantha a friend of yours?
Claim privilege.
Was she a friend of yours at that time?
It's attorney-client privilege.
Not whether or not they were friends is not attorney-client privilege. If she was representing her and she was making statements that she thought would be covered under the attorney-client privilege, then maybe, but not just whether or not they are friends.
If she's a friend or not?
No, fine, I don't care.
Now people on Amber's side are now arguing with each other. So first Amber and her lawyers kind of arguing with each other. Now the lawyers on that side of the table are arguing.
Can you repeat your question, please?
Yes, when you called, at the time you called on May 21, Samantha Spector, after you learned that the cops were there and you wanted to call her and did call her, was her relationship with you as a friend?
You just said that I called Samantha after the cops were there, and I have just told you I'm not quite sure when I called her, if it was before the cops were there or not. So I just don't want to answer your question and validate that comment you inserted into the question, if it's okay.
Isn't it true, Miss Hurd, that you called Samantha Spector on May 21, 2016, because she was representing you in your divorce?
Oh, so she was asking about the attorney-client privilege stuff.
That's attorney-client.
Yeah, that
Was
is.
she
No,
your
hang
attorney?
on. In connection with your divorce, there hadn't been a divorce filing, so you've got a problem
Okay.
with that question.
Then what did you say to Samantha Spector
That's
when you
attorney-
called her on May 21, 2016?
Only if it's attorney-client
Wait,
privilege.
what did you say to Samantha?
That's
Spector?
my
That's
question.
privilege.
Even I know that's
All right.
privilege.
Okay, good.
And
Thank
it's
you.
privileged
Very
because, Ms. Hurd, she was your lawyer at that time, correct?
That's what Blair's trying to get, which is funny. It's gone over everybody else's head. So are you claiming privilege or are you not? Because if you're claiming privilege, that means she's your lawyer.
She was a lawyer.
I am a lawyer.
just because somebody is a lawyer does not mean everything you say to them as your friend is privilege under attorney-client privilege. You can try to make it seem that way, like it's so obvious, even I know that, but that's not actually true. That's not how the privilege works. It has to be in the attorney-client context. Like where me and my buddy went to dinner last night is not privileged. Our text messages are not privileged about dinner, unless I represent him and we talked about the case at dinner, of course. But again, context matters.
It's privileged, don't answer.
Don't answer the question.
Okay.
Counsel is directing the client not to answer whether a call made to another person was privileged because it was her lawyer.
Because it was a lawyer. Any communication with a lawyer.
No, it's not.
No, sorry, Charles.
You may want to brush up on that, Mr. Harder.
Oh yeah, seeking legal advice from a
Miss-
lawyer is privilege.
Yeah, see, now he changes the context when all the lawyers in the room point out, dude, that's not how it works. You could hear audible laughs at the table. That is not how it works just because somebody's a lawyer. Come on.
Miss,
You just said talking to a lawyer.
Seeking legal advice from
Excuse
a
me.
lawyer is
may
privilege.
I,
We'll
yes,
go to court.
She shouldn't be speaking.
Ms. Hurd,
Yes, ma'am.
prior to May 21, prior to, let's say, May 22nd, when you say all these things had happened, did you ever commit domestic violence against Johnny Depp?
Here we go.
Objection.
Legal conclusion.
I
Maybe.
instruct you not to answer.
Based on what?
Is counsel having his client invoke?
Ooh, yeah.
I'll also object.
It's also calls for a legal
opinion.
conclusion.
Yes, that's the correct objection.
What is, may I ask the basis for the objection?
Instruction.
An instruction not to answer.
It calls for a legal conclusion, and it Fifth Amendment.
Yeah, he has to say it, which makes her seem guilty, but it's not actually what it is. But they want, Johnny Depp's lawyers are being smart through this thing. If you're going to instruct her not to answer, that's fine. But we need the reasoning on the record. We don't want to be able to go back and do research and then bring it to the court later. State right now what your reasoning is that you're instructing her not to answer, because that's what you're stuck with. Then when we go argue it and you're going to lose, that's basically what they're saying. They're saying you don't even know what you're talking about at this point through these objections and instructions not to answer. You're going to lose when we bring this in front of the court. You're going to get sanctioned, and we're going to get to do another depo at your client's going to be paying for it.
Prior to May 22nd, 2016, had you ever struck with your hand or fist Johnny Depp?
When Johnny would be hitting me, I did my best to stand up on my 2 feet, emotionally and physically. I did my best to defend myself.
Objection, non-responsive, move to strike.
I picked up my hands as best as I could. I tried to.
Okay, Ms. Hurd, prior to May 21, 2016, had you ever thrown an object at Mr. Depp that hit him in his body?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Had you ever slapped him prior to May 22, 2016 with your hand?
Like I said, Johnny's a much bigger man than me, and when a bigger man slaps you around, you do your best to defend yourself if you can, and I don't know to what extent I was able to do that.
We're going to take a short break.
How much more time do we have?
38 minutes.
What is the purpose of the,
You
what is the
were right,
purpose
the
of the
alarm.
break?
We're entitled to a break, and we're taking a break.
No, not yet. May we ask what the purpose of the break is?
We're entitled to a break, and we're taking.
It's totally appropriate to ask what the reasoning is for it. Weird timing for them to ask for a break right when they're getting into whether or not she abused him. And it seems like they want to do it at a certain point, and they're trying to cut off the time that the depo is going to stop, which is all problematic when you're talking about a depo where you as Amber Heard's lawyers are limiting the amount of time you're giving for this depo, and you keep taking a bunch of breaks. I would be frustrated at that as well if I was the counsel taking the deposition.
We're in the middle of a line of questioning. Can you
Thank
please sit
you.
down?
No, we're
There
going
was
to.
no question.
Are you joking?
No, guys, I don't
We're
know
taking
what
a
you
break.
expect of me. I can
We
only
are-
do one at a time.
Taking a break.
Finally, there. That was the court reporter piping in saying, I can only take down one of you at a time. Please, everybody, don't talk over each other.
So,
All right.
How much,
38.
time-
We're not off the record.
it's okay, I'm
We can
asking
go
a
off the
question.
record. We're just asking how much time
I
is
just want to know how
left.
much time is
Time
on.
is approximately 6:15 PM, and we're going off the record.
prior to, let's say, May
I'm just popping it back here real quick to see exactly when they stopped everything and said they want to take a break. I want to hear that again.
22nd, when you say all these things had happened. Did you ever commit domestic violence against Johnny Depp?
Objection.
Not to answer.
It calls for legal.
Or hand or fist Johnny Depp?
Yeah, here we go.
Um,
This is, I mean, we all know where this is coming from. It's coming straight from the recording. I thought she was going to get into some answers. Obviously, she's not. But let's hear exactly when they cut it off. Stand up and take a break.
Fifth Amendment.
There you go.
Prior to May 22nd, 2016, had you ever struck with your hand or fist Johnny Depp?
When Johnny would be hitting me, I did my best to stand up on my 2 feet, emotionally and physically. I did my best to defend myself.
Objection, non-responsive, move to strike.
I picked up my hands as best as I could. I tried to.
Okay, Ms. Hurd, prior to May 21, 2016, had you ever thrown an object at Mr. Depp that hit him in his body?
Talking about the finger now.
I don't know. I don't remember.
I don't know.
Had you ever slapped him prior to May 22, 2016 with your hand?
Like I said, Johnny's a much bigger man than me, and when a bigger man slaps you around, you do your best to defend yourself if you can. And I don't know to what extent I was able to do that.
We're going to take a short break.
Literally, yes. Exactly what I thought. So it was
30
literally right in the middle of her explaining or them asking questions about her abusing Johnny Depp. So it's almost like they say, we're going to regroup. We need to talk to Amber about this, talk to her about what she can admit, what she can't admit, what she did do, what she didn't do, claim it's self-defense. We need to talk about all this. They have recordings. They have pictures. They have Johnny Depp, obviously, explaining to them what happened. They wanted to get into specifics, and Amber's team blocked it. They objected. They instructed her not to answer at first. Then she answers some questions. Then they take a break, and they are probably going to go talk to her now about what her testimony is going to be surrounding these statements and abuse. So I am just confirming through the rest of the video that that is the end of part 7 on Jackson Bryan's channel. There some very interesting points, some more legal arguments, some more blocking or attempting to block questions, some more barbs being thrown by Wasser and Amber Heard's lawyer back and forth. But to me, they are just getting into the juicy topics now. She's had this, a bit of an aura around her throughout the deposition. And now she's kind of getting hit in the face with the reality of, well, we have recordings where you admit hitting him and abusing him. So how do you explain that? And my guess is that's what we're going to get with part 8. I think they only had 38 minutes they were mentioning, or maybe 45 minutes or something less. I think there's less than an hour left up of this deposition. So there will be a part 8. I believe that is the last part of this deposition. So make sure if you have any questions, get them in now, get them into the comments, hit that like button. Let me know what you think of these depos. Let me know if you have any specific questions based on how the lawyers acted, or any questions they asked or objections they had during this part of the deposition. And after we finish part 8, we will do a live Q&A to discuss all the questions you have about this deposition, the format, the procedure, what the judge can and can't do if they were to see this deposition. So we'll answer all those questions and more after part 8 is done, which I think is going to be dropped at some point this week, which means we'll probably post it sometime next week. Hopefully you guys enjoy this content as usual. Let me know what you think in the comments. Tell your friends about it and share it so we can get to 150K. Thanks for being with us. For now, that's all we've got. Thanks for watching this episode of The Lawyer You Know. If you like this content, please share it with your friends. Make sure you subscribe to our page and like our videos. If you want some interaction, get in the comments and we'll be sure to get back to you. If you want to know any more information about our firm or this page, you can find out in the description or visit tragoslaw.com. We post multiple times throughout the week, so make sure you hit that bell so you can get the notification and not miss out on the next episode.